For 300 years, the galaxy had been quiet. Not quiet because of peace or friendship, but quiet because of fear. The Karnak Dominion ruled the stars with an iron fist. Their ships were huge and terrible, their weapons deadly beyond anything anyone had seen before. Any planet or race that tried to fight them was crushed without mercy. Whole civilizations disappeared, wiped out as warnings to others. No one dared challenge the Karnak, and most tried to hide in the shadows of the galaxy. The Karnak were ruthless and proud. They believed they were the strongest beings in the universe, born to control everything. Their empire spread like wildfire, swallowing stars and systems without a fight. Everyone knew that crossing the Karnak meant death. The stars belonged to them. They made sure everyone remembered it. But there was one place in the galaxy that the Karnak had not touched yet. A small, unimportant sector far from their main territories. It was called the Silent Sectors by space travelers because no one ever heard from there. No battles, no trading, no messages. Just silence. And he thought it was empty, but it was Earth's. Home sector. Earth had grown quietly over the centuries. Humans had rebuilt their strength after many wars on their own planet. They learned to work together and use new technology that helped them reach for the stars. But they knew the Karnak were watching, and they did not want to start a war they could not win. Still, Earth was not weak. Hidden deep in space, they built new ships, new weapons, and powerful machines. They sent small scout teams to explore the Silent Sectors, hoping to find signs of the Karnak or other enemies. The scouts were careful and fast, sending reports back to Earth. One day, scouts found something strange near the edge of the Silent Sectors. A Karnak warship drifted silently in space. It was a huge battle cruiser, bigger than any human ship, but it was empty. Scouts scanned the ship and saw no signs of life. The ship's systems were still running, but something was very wrong. The hull was torn in places, as if something inside had destroyed it. The scouts sent a message to Earth with their discovery. Scientists and commanders were puzzled. How could a Karnak ship be abandoned in the middle of space? The Karnak never left their ships unless they were sure to return. The silence from the ship was strange and dangerous. A team of brave human explorers was sent to investigate the abandoned warship. The team boarded the Karnak ship, their suits glowing in the dark corridors. Inside, the air was cold and still. No sounds, no movement. But the ship was alive in its own way. Lights flickered, and strange symbols glowed on the walls. As the explorers moved deeper into the ship, they found signs of a terrible fight. Walls were scratched and broken. Strange alien blood stained the floor. But there were no bodies. It was as if the crew had vanished into thin air. The team reached the control room and found the ship's captain's chair empty. The logs were still running, showing messages from the last hours before the ship's silence. The logs told a story of fear and panic. Something had attacked the ship from inside, something the Karnak had never seen before. Suddenly, the explorers heard a noise. Something moved in the shadows. They raised their weapons and prepared for battle. But it was only a small creature, fast and strange, with glowing eyes. It disappeared before they could catch it. The explorers realized that the Karnak warship had been attacked by an unknown force that could kill the strongest warriors and make the mighty Karnak flee. This was a secret Earth had to know, but the discovery did not stay secret for long. The Karnak Dominion soon learned about the abandoned ship and the human investigation. They sent their fleets to the Silent Sectors to find out what was happening. The galaxy watched as the Karnak prepared for war. Earth's leaders met in secret. They knew that war with the Karnak would be terrible. The Karnak had destroyed so many worlds and would not stop until Earth was crushed too. But Earth had a plan. It spent years preparing weapons that could fight the Karnak's great ships. The time had come to act. Without warning, Earth's new warship, the ASV Behemoth, appeared in the Silent Sectors. It carried a weapon never seen before in the galaxy, a giant railgun that could shoot a metal projectile at incredible speed. The ASV Behemoth fired its first shot at a Karnak warship that was moving toward Earth sector. The shot hit the Karnak ship directly, breaking through its thick armor. The ship exploded in a fiery blast that lit up the stars. No warning, no chance to defend itself. The galaxy gasped. No one had ever seen humans attack first, and no one had seen the Karnak lose a ship so quickly. The silence of fear was broken. Earth had fired first, and the message was clear. Humans would fight. They would not hide or run. The Karnak Dominion had a new enemy, one that was strong, clever, and ready. This first shot started a war that would shake the stars. The silent sectors were no longer quiet. They were the beginning of a fight for freedom and survival. In the cold depths of space, stars watched as two great forces prepared for battle. The Karnak Dominion, proud and ruthless, believed they would crush the humans like all others before. But humans had something the Karnak did not expect: courage, determination, and a secret power hidden in their new weapons. The galaxy waited to see what would happen next. Would the Karnak strike back with terrible force? Would humans survive against the greatest empire the stars had ever known? The answer was hidden in the silence that had ended. The galaxy wasn't ready for what just happened. The Karnak warship, one of their strongest, had been destroyed. Not by a trap, not by another alien empire, but by humans. A species, the Karnak, barely noticed until now. The explosion of the Karnak cruiser echoed across the stars. No one had ever dared strike first against the Karnak Dominion, but Earth had done it. News traveled fast. Across hidden star bases and silent observatories, whispers began. Humans fired first. A Karnak ship was destroyed. Earth has a weapon strong enough to kill a Dominion warship in one shot. Fear mixed with wonder. At the center of this storm was the ASV Behemoth, Earth's most powerful ship. Over 5 kilometers long, armored with layered alloys and advanced shielding, the Behemoth wasn't just a warship, it was a declaration. Message to the stars: Earth will not bow. Inside the Behemoth, Captain Rhea Stanton stood on the command deck. Her jaw was tight, her eyes locked on the fading wreckage outside. The crew around her remained silent, waiting for orders or reactions. No one cheered. No one smiled. They all knew what would come next. We just started a war, her second-in-command whispered. No, Rhea said softly. We answered one. Earth's leaders had known for years this moment might come. They didn't want war, but they had. Prepared for it, Karnak's destruction of weaker species couldn't be ignored forever. Earth had studied every battle, every report, every piece of stolen Karnak tech. They didn't strike blindly, they struck with precision. Back on Earth, the United Planetary Council held an emergency session. Representatives from Mars, Europa, Titan, and the lunar cities joined Earth's core leadership via Hololink. The mood was tense. Some feared Karnak retaliation. Others believed Earth had no choice. This isn't just defense anymore, said Chancellor Lee. We've shown the galaxy that we're not afraid. But the Karnak won't ignore this, said Minister Vazari of Mars. They'll come with everything they have. And we'll meet them with everything we've built, said Admiral Sarek, head of Earth's Defense Command. Let them come. Meanwhile, in the dark corners of the galaxy, the Karnak High Command received the report of the ship's destruction. Their leader, High Warlord Kravox, stood in his obsidian throne room, his claws clenching the edges of the armrest. The image of the destroyed ship flickered in front of him, cold, silent, undeniable. He let out a low, dangerous growl. They dared. An advisor stepped forward. Shall we send a warning fleet? Kravox didn't answer at first. His mind wasn't on a warning. It was on revenge, not just punishment destruction. The Karnak didn't believe in warnings. They believed in examples, and Earth had just made itself the next one. Send the 7th Legion, Kravox ordered. I want their skies burning. I want their planet shattered. Back in the silent sectors, the ASV Behemoth waited. It wasn't alone. Smaller human destroyers and stealth frigates had joined its position, forming a silent wall near Earth's outer defenses. Their sensors were active. Their weapons were primed. Suddenly, something flickered on the long-range radar. Movement. A ripple in subspace. Then dozens of contacts. Karnak ships approaching fast. The enemy had arrived, Captain.
Out.
Rhea Stanton narrowed her eyes. Alert all ships. They're coming. Dot, dot. The Karnak fleet exited subspace like fire bursting from the dark. Their ships were jagged, blood-colored, and massive. 20 war cruisers, 30 strike corvettes. Several troop carriers. It was not a warning fleet, it was an invasion force. Inside Earth's defense network, alarms rang. Planetary shields were powered up. Orbital cannons locked onto incoming targets. Civilian stations were evacuated. This wasn't a drill. This was real. The first wave came fast. Karnak corvettes darted toward human destroyers, weapons glowing green and white. Human ships returned fire, unleashing plasma bursts and railgun slugs. Explosions lit up the blackness between stars. Fighters swarmed like angry insects, the ASV. Behemoth held its position, waiting for the main cruisers to come into range. Captain Stanton stood tall, her hands behind her back. "Hold fire," she said. "Let them come." The Karnak cruisers advanced, confident, angry, ready to crush. The Behemoth's AI, Omega, spoke calmly. "Targets in optimal range. Railgun capacitor charged. Firing solution locked." "Fire," Stanton ordered. The railgun fired again, a shot of pure destruction. A massive slug flew across space faster than the eye could follow. It hit a Karnak cruiser directly in the core. The cruiser exploded instantly. One shot, one kill. The battle paused for a second. The Karnak hadn't expected this. They believed their cruisers were invincible. But humans had built something different. Something deadly. More shots followed. Human ships used tight formations and smart tactics. They lured Karnak corvettes into traps, used asteroids for cover, and coordinated their attacks with precision. But the Karnak were not weak. They had numbers, experience, and brutal power. One human frigate was ripped apart. Another lost its engines and drifted into enemy fire. Lives were lost. Fire lit the skies. On Earth, people watched in fear and pride. They saw their defenders standing tall, fighting not just to survive but to win. The battle raged for hours. The space near Earth turned into a graveyard of broken metal and burning ships. In the end, the Karnak fleet pulled back, not in defeat, but in confusion. They had not expected resistance like this, not from humans. Captain Stanton didn't chase. She knew this was only the beginning. On the edge of known space, other species watched, some in hidden stations, others in cloaked ships. They had lived in fear for centuries. But now something had changed. For the first time, someone had stood up to the Karnak and survived. One of the alien observers, gray-skinned being with sharp eyes, turned to his crew. "The humans fired first," he said. "And now, ... the galaxy watches." Space remained quiet after the battle, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This time it was the calm before something much bigger. Both sides were preparing. Earth, for the first time in history, had faced the galaxy's most feared empire and survived. But survival was not victory. Not yet. In orbit around Earth, the ASV Behemoth rested in dry dock. Engineers in spacesuits moved across its hull, repairing scorched plating and recharging its massive railgun. The crew inside was silent, tired, but proud. The battle was won, but everyone knew the Karnak would return, Captain. Rhea Stanton stood in front of a large screen on the command deck. Footage of the fight played again and again. The moment the Behemoth's first shot destroyed the Karnak cruiser. The moment Earth's destroyers worked together to disable a troop carrier. The moment the Karnak retreated Omega, the ship's AI spoke. "Damage control at 68%. All systems will be fully operational in 36 hours. Rhea nodded. "Good. Because next time, they won't send just a fleet. They'll send a message." And she was right. The Karnak High Command was furious. Warlord Kravox could barely control his rage. He had watched from a throne made of bones. As his ships burned, the 7th Legion, one of his most powerful forces, had failed. Not just failed, but been pushed back. He needed to show the galaxy that no one could resist the Dominion, no matter how advanced, no matter how brave. So he did what the Karnak were known for. He made an example. A small planet on the edge of human space, called Prosper, was the first to suffer. It was a peaceful colony with farming outposts, research stations, and only a handful of defense satellites. No warships. No soldiers. When the Karnak fleet arrived, no warning was given. They didn't send demands. They simply opened fire. The skies over Prosper turned red. Entire cities were vaporized in seconds. Orbiting stations were torn apart. People screamed into coms that no one could answer. By the time Earth detected the attack, Prosper was gone. Over 200,000 civilians dead. When the news reached Earth, silence fell over every city, every spaceport, every base. Then came the screams. Then came the rage. At the council hall, leaders sat in shock. Chancellor Lee's hands trembled as he read the reports. They didn't attack our fleets. They didn't go for our weapons. They went after families. Admiral Sarek slammed his fist on the table. They want us to back down, to fear them again. Minister Vazari looked around the room. What do we do? The answer came from Captain Stanton herself, speaking through a live feed from the Est. Behemoth, we send a message. That message wouldn't be words. It would be action. Omega's voice echoed in the ship's war room. Targets selected: Karnak Relay Base, Delta Prime, mid-tier military hub, weak planetary defenses, high symbolic value. Captain Stanton smiled coldly. Perfect. The ASV Behemoth prepared for deep space jump. 2 destroyers and a stealth frigate joined its escort. It was not an invasion, it was a strike. They reached the Karnak base in under 2 hours. The planet below was dry, lifeless, with spiked towers and heat storms. The relay station hovered above the atmosphere. It was a floating fortress that sent communications across half the Karnak Empire. And now, it was in Earth's sights. The Behemoth didn't wait. Fire. The railgun charged and thundered through the void. The shot hit the relay station dead center. Massive explosion followed. Fire poured into space. The structure broke into spinning debris. The Karnak defense ships scrambled. But Earth's smaller escort ships jammed their signals and blocked their response. Within 10 minutes, the strike was over. 1 Karnak military base destroyed. But Earth wasn't finished. The stealth frigate slipped away from the battle and moved into low orbit. It released a message broadcast across open channels in every major galactic language. The message was short. You burned our colony. We burned your fortress. We are not afraid of you. We are humanity. Fire will be answered with fire.
That
message echoed through every corner of the galaxy. On trade ships and pirate outposts, on old satellites and hidden bunkers, on neutral alien worlds. Everyone heard it. Some laughed. Some whispered. Some dared to hope. On a faraway planet, an insectoid species known as the Zeth watched the message with wide eyes. Do you believe? One asked. They challenged the Karnak. Another answered, and lived. Maybe they can do what we never could. Back on the Behemoth, Captain Stanton sat in her chair, staring at the stars. She wasn't proud of the death. She didn't want war. But she understood one truth. If you want peace with monsters, you must first show them you have teeth. And Earth's teeth were sharper than the galaxy ever guessed. The Karnak didn't respond immediately, but something stirred. Somewhere in the darkness of their empire, something terrible was being prepared. The next time they attacked, they wouldn't bring ships. They would bring a weapon. And the humans had no idea what was coming. The galaxy held its breath. First, the humans had struck. Then, the Karnak answered by burning a colony. Now Earth had hit back harder, destroying one of the Karnak's own bases. But beneath all the noise and fire, something quiet and deadly moved. In the shadows, the Karnak Dominion had secrets weapons never shown in open war. They didn't need them before. No species had ever pushed them this far. But now, the humans had done the unthinkable. They had embarrassed the Karnak. They could not be forgiven. inside a deep chamber on a dark planet called Ural-6, Karnak. Scientists worked without rest. They moved around a massive object, floating in containments, something alive, something ancient, something terrifying. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't a ship. It was a living weapon, a creature built for one purpose: destruction. They called it Zarek. Zarek had been grown in secret, bioengineered from the DNA of extinct predators, fused with technology, and raised in zero gravity. It had no mouth, but it fed on energy. It had no eyes, but it could see heat, movement, and magnetic fields. Its skin could bend light and resist plasma. It was 3 times the size of any human dropship, and it could survive in space, but worst of all, Zarek could think. Not like an animal, not like a soldier, like something else, something twisted. It was the Karnak Shadow Project, meant only to be used if their empire was truly threatened. Now it was ready. On Earth, no one knew about Zarek, not yet. After the successful strike on the Karnak relay station, humanity started gaining confidence. In public cities and underground bunkers, people whispered things they never dared before. We can fight them. We're not alone anymore. Bleed just like us. The United Planetary Council met again, this time with more unity. They started talks with old colonies that had once broken away. Now they were returning, drawn by the strength Earth had shown. Even a few alien species, weak and hiding from the Karnak for generations, sent quiet messages to Earth. We'll help you. But not everyone was hopeful. Captain Rhea Stanton didn't trust the silence. From the Behemoth's command deck, she studied the data coming from deep space probes. No movement, no signs of fleets. No signals from Karnak territories. It was too quiet. They're planning something, she said. Her AI Omega responded. Probability of counterattack, 94.3%. But the method is unknown. She frowned. Then we prepare for the unknown. The Behemoth stayed in orbit. Weapons online. Earth's orbital defenses were increased. Drones scanned deep space constantly. All ships were placed on high alert. Still, nothing then. Something happened. A small Earth mining station on an asteroid named Veritazanine went silent. No warning, no distress signal, just gone. A scout ship was sent to investigate. What it found shocked everyone. The station was there, but empty. No signs of life, no damage to the exterior. The systems were dead. Power core had been drained completely, like something sucked the energy right out of it. The bodies of the crew were never found, but something strange had been left behind. A deep claw mark carved into the metal floor. It wasn't made by a tool or a weapon. It was made by something alive. Captain Stanton examined the footage. What the hell are we looking at? Her science officer shook his head. Not Karnak metal. It's biological. Something clawed that using its body. No armor, no suit. Another station went dark 3 days later. Then another. And another. No survivors, no traces, just strange claw marks. And sometimes walls melted as if touched by extreme heat or radiation. The humans were now fighting an enemy they couldn't. See, then came the first recording. A signal was picked up by a deep-range drone. Faint, broken, but real. It showed a shadow moving through the vacuum of space. No ship, no sound. Just a blur of motion. It tore through a drone, wrapped in some kind of energy pulse, and vanished. Back at the Behemoth, everyone watched it on loop. What is that thing? An officer whispered. Captain Stanton didn't blink. Whatever it is, it's hunting us. Name Zarok was not yet known to humans. They were feeling its presence now. The creature had been released, and it was learning, studying its new prey. Earth Command sent out an emergency. Transmission to all colonies. New threat detected. Unidentified. Highly advanced. Likely biological. Do not engage alone. The Behemoth was sent toward the outer colonies with a fleet of 3 other capital ships. It would search for the source of the attacks. But inside, everyone knew they were searching in the dark as they passed near the Veritas sector. The Behemoth's sensors picked up something strange. Energy pulses small, rhythmic, almost like breathing. A pattern repeating every few seconds. It wasn't natural. Omega analyzed the pattern. It's not a signal. It's a pulse, like a heartbeat. Captain Stanton stood up slowly. "Where's it coming from?" the AI responded coldly. "All directions." Suddenly, the behemoth's hull shuddered. Lights flickered. Power levels dropped. From the observation deck, crew members saw something pass by. Blur, then nothing. Like a shadow across the stars. Alarms went off, then silence, then a scream. From Deck 9, Stanton rushed to the internal feed. A section of the ship's lower decks had been breached not from outside but from within. Security cams showed doors melting open, walls splitting. Then the feed cut. The creature was inside the behemoth. The humans had never faced anything like this. They weren't just in a war anymore. They were being hunted. The emergency lights on the behemoth blinked red, casting shadows through the corridors. The ship that once destroyed a Karnak war cruiser in one shot now felt like a cage. Something was inside with them, something they couldn't see clearly, but it was real. Deadly real. Captain Rhea Stanton stood frozen on the bridge, her fists clenched. The main screen showed nothing. No enemy ships, no outside threats. But deep inside the behemoth, Deck 9 had gone dark. No response from the crew there. Every camera feed ended in static. Stanton turned to her weapons officer. "Seal off decks 8 through 10. I want containment." He nodded, quickly locking down doors and rerouting power. Metal barriers dropped between decks. Gas vents hissed as emergency systems activated. But everyone knew it might be too late. Omega, the ship's AI, spoke calmly. "Intrusion path suggests the subject bypassed normal entry points. Hull integrity remains intact. Breach occurred. The inside." "From the inside?" Stanton, REPEATEDOMEGAS voice remained cold.
"Unknown.
Biological readings detected before the blackout. Subject appears to absorb energy. It entered through the ship's fusion core ventilation ducts. The crew didn't speak. Some didn't even breathe. The behemoth was supposed to be safe, untouchable. But now a monster was loose inside their walls. Down in Deck 9, a small security team moved carefully through the dark. Their suits glowed faint green. Weapons were raised. Every sound echoed too loudly. The hall smelled burned, metallic. Strange symbols were scratched into the walls, symbols that shimmered and moved like they were alive. "Motion detector just died," whispered one of the soldiers. "I don't like this," another muttered. "Where's the crew?" Then they saw it. A body, or what was left of one. Just a suit collapsed, steaming. The helmet had melted. Inside was blackened, empty, no blood, no flesh. Suddenly the lights above flickered and went out. The team froze. A low humming began. Not mechanical, not a machine. It sounded alive, like breathing mixed with electricity. One soldier turned. A blur, then a scream. Something pulled him into the shadows. The rest opened fire, plasma rounds lighting the hallway. Nothing, just a long claw mark on the wall in silence. The team retreated. Only 2 made it back. On the bridge, Rhea watched the live vitals drop. "This thing, it's testing us," her science officer agreed. "Doesn't kill randomly, it's hunting crew one by one. It moves through power systems and feeds off energy. It's learning." Rhea looked at the ship's schematic. "We starve it. Cut every power line to that section. I want it blind and hungry." The order was given. Deck 9 was shut down completely. Darkness fell. Power lines were cut. Ventilation stopped. Nothing went in or out. But the ship still trembled. Zarek didn't need power. It had fed on enough. It moved in ways no human could understand. It passed through walls like smoke, yet struck with the weight of a tank. It whispered into the minds of engineers, showed them visions. Some collapsed. Some shot themselves. Stanton called in reinforcements, armored units from the destroyer Saber, which docked alongside the Behemoth under emergency orders. The plan was simple. Trap it. The engineers designed a bait system, a reactor core mock-up filled with concentrated energy enough to lure Zarek into one chamber. Then they'd seal the room with magnetic locks and vent it into space. Risky, but it might be the only shot. They called the Operation Hammerfall. Inside the trap room, the energy bait, dead, everything was quiet until the temperature dropped. The cameras caught at the blur again, then a long curved limb and two glowing lines, like eyes but wrong. They weren't looking at the bait. They were looking straight at the camera. Rhea watched from the bridge. It knows. Before the crew could seal the doors, Zarek vanished, then appeared behind the trap room. It wasn't fooled. It had learned the layout of the ship. It had learned. Then it did something no one expected. It went straight for the bridge. The lights blinked. Gravity systems shook. Omeg's voice cracked. Warning. Unknown entity approaching main deck. Evac route now. Stanton shouted. Doors locked. Shields activated. But the beast moved fast. Too fast. 2 security guards were ripped apart before they reached the hall. Rhea grabbed her sidearm and turned to face the rear doors. Then, the shaking stopped. Everything silent again. Then came the whisper. Not a sound, a feeling. In every mind, you learn fast. But not fast enough. Omeg's voice returned, sharp. New signal Karnak transmission source identified. Are watching. This was never just a weapon. It was a test. Stanton understood. Zarek wasn't just sent to kill. It was a message from the Karnak. You heard us. How we show you what's coming. Stanton opened a direct link to Earth Command. This is Behemoth. We are under internal attack. Enemy biological unit on board. Repeat. It is alive. It learns. This is not a random strike. This is their warning. Back on Earth, the Council listened. In horror and far away deep in Karnak space, Warlord Kravak smiled. They thought they'd tasted war, he hissed. Let them learn what war really means. Back aboard the Behemoth, Stanton looked to her crew. This thing made one mistake. She said it thought we'd just run. She looked at the weapons officer. Let's give it a taste of human fire. The bridge of the ASV Behemoth was damaged but holding. Sparks rained from a cracked console. One officer lay unconscious. The crew was on edge, hands trembling, eyes fixed on flickering screens. Somewhere deep inside the ship, Zarek was still. Alive, silent, hidden, watching. But something had changed. Captain Rhea Stanton had stopped reacting with fear. She wasn't running. She was planning. Omega's voice returned, clearer now after a temporary reboot. Biological readings confirm target remains aboard. Movement paused. Estimated recovery period, 3.4 hours. Rhea nodded slowly. Feeds. It learns, but even it needs rest. Her science officer stepped forward. Then this is our only window. Yes, Stanton said. Our turn now. The new plan was dangerous, risky, but if it worked, they wouldn't just trap the creature, they'd hurt it. Zarek thought it understood the Behemoth. It had learned the ship's systems, its weaknesses. But it hadn't seen what Earth's engineers had buried in the Cora failsafe, a self-contained microfusion detonator designed to overload a section of the ship in case of capture. Rhea's plan was to lure Zarek into the engine access tunnels, trap it with power barriers, and then detonate the failsafe inside that section, just enough to burn it without damaging the whole ship. You're trying to kill it with the ship's own heart, one officer asked. No, Rhea said. I'm trying to remind it that humans adapt to. Omega began rerouting power to key junctions. Technicians set the trap. Security bots deployed inside the tunnel, carrying plasma charges and decoys. That simulated human movement and heat. Now, all they needed was the monster. It didn't take long. Rock sensed the power buildup. It had tasted the Behemoth's energy before it returned, sliding silently through vents, shadow to shadow. It didn't come fast. came Clever. The creature approached the reactor access shaft, unaware or uncaring that over a dozen high-voltage barriers had been activated behind it. It stepped through the magnetic field, testing it with one long limb. Omega spoke. Target confirmed. Trap closing in 5. Wait, Rhea said. On the screen, the creature tilted its head. 4. Its skin shimmered. It turned 2. Leave now, she ordered. The doors slammed shut. A surge of white-hot electricity surged through the chamber. Zarek screamed not in pain but in pure rage. Its body shook against the barriers. Plasma charges detonated. One arm tore off. Sparks filled the space. Then the fusion failsafe triggered. Boom. A massive shockwave ripped through the tunnel. The bridge lights went out. Silence, then emergency systems flickered back on. Omega's voice was weak, but alive. Subject's core. Structure damaged, vital readings unstable. Escape path detected, heading toward outer hull. Stanton stood. It's running. The entire ship shifted as Zarek moved. Not fast, not silent anymore. It was wounded. It smashed through hallways, leaving behind black liquid and scorched metal. The monster was trying to reach space-trying. To escape, the behemoth's outer hull doors opened without command. Zarek launched itself into space. The ship's railguns turned toward it, tracking. Target acquired, Omega confirmed. Shall I fire? No, Stanton said. Let it go. The crew stared at her. She narrowed her eyes. We want it to run home. Want them to know we can hurt it. Omega understood. Message received. Zarek disappeared into the dark, wounded, furious, but alive and watching. Back on Earth, the Council listened to the behemoth's transmission. They now knew what the Karnak had unleashed and what it meant. They also now had physical evidence, black samples recovered. From the creature's blood, and shattered armor from its body. It was alive. But it could be killed. The samples were rushed to Luna Base for study. Scientists worked without rest. The early results were terrifying. The creature wasn't just biological. It had Karnak coding in its DNA. Built, not born. It's designed to infiltrate, survive, and report. It had been sent to study humans to see how Earth reacted to terror. A Karnak message followed days later, broadcast galaxy-wide. You broke silence. You struck first, now we show you the shape of extinction. The galaxy shivered, but Earth didn't back down instead. They responded with something new. They uploaded the footage of the behemoth fighting Zarek, complete with sensor logs and internal ship data. They showed the galaxy that the Karnak's secret weapon bled, and more importantly, humans made it bleed. The message wasn't just for Earth's enemies. It was for every species hiding in the dark, across the stars. Old rebel. Groups stirred, forgotten empires took notice, and deep in space, Warlord Kravox watched the video silently. He said nothing. Then, with a flick of his claw, he activated a new command. One word blinked across the screen in ancient Karnak code. Awaken. And far below the Karnak throne world, other chambers began to open. The footage of Zarek's battle on the behemoth spread faster than any war report in galactic history, from asteroid colonies to dead civilizations hiding underground. Species that had lived in silence for centuries finally saw something they didn't believe was possible. A Karnak weapon had been wounded, and not by another empire, by humans. For many alien worlds, it was the first time they had even heard of Earth. To them, humans were small, young, fragile. But now, they were something else, dangerous. In secret tunnels on the ice planet Arolas, a dying resistance group called the Ellerin Blades played the footage again and again. One warrior asked, "Are they real? These humans?" Another, his body half covered in scars from old Karnak battles, nodded. Yes, and they did what we never could. On the far side of the galaxy, a race called the Ravari, long thought extinct, sent a coded signal it had. Only 2 words: we're ready. Back on Earth, the council chambers were no longer silent. The attack on the behemoth had changed everything. Now Earth wasn't just defending itself, It had become a symbol. Admiral Sarek stood before the United Planetary Council, his voice steady. We did not want this war, but it has come. And now others are watching. If we retreat now, the Karnak will erase a sand remind the galaxy to fear them? Chancellor Li looked around the chamber. Are you saying we become leaders of a resistance? No, Sarek said. I'm saying we become the spark. Meanwhile, Captain Rhea Stanton returned to Earth for the first time in years. She stood on the balcony of the Global Defense Headquarters, overlooking thousands of new recruits training. Below, drones flew in the sky. Artillery bots rolled through steel corridors. The world was preparing. Omega's core had been moved into a new station near Earth's moon. The AI, now fully repaired, monitored deep space around the clock. That's when it found it, a pattern in the data from Zarek's escape path. It wasn't random. The creature hadn't fled blindly. It had followed coordinates sent from the Karnak homeworld. A probe was launched immediately. It carried no weapons, just high-speed engines and stealth tech. It flew for days, silent and alone, through dead systems and old ruins. Then it reached the edge of Karnak-controlled space. There, hidden in the gravity field of a dying star, was something enormous. A station, not a base, not a ship, a birthing forge. Inside, the probe caught images just before it was destroyed. Images of dozens of Zarek-like creatures, all still growing in dark tanks, some larger, some with wings, some wrapped in chains. Earth's scientists analyzed the images in horror. They're building an army. One said, they've had this for decades, said another. Zarek was just the first. The Karnak weren't reacting out of fear. They were testing, back on Earth. The Council prepared their response. We cannot fight them alone. Chancellor Li said. We won't have to, Admiral Sarek replied. Just then, a signal came in, encrypted. From the deep void, the voice was rough, metallic. This is Commander Het, of the Zorathi Free Fleet. We saw your battle. We saw your courage. If you are building a resistance, then we are with you. Our signals followed. The Ellerin Blades, the Rivari Ghost Clan, the Orion Gate Traders, all forgotten groups, long oppressed by the Karnak, were responding. Humanity had become something new, a rally point. But with that hope came a warning. OMEGAS. Deep space sensors picked up movement, dozens of signatures, approaching from multiple sides. Karnak sleeper fleets. Ships that had been waiting in deep space for years. Awakened by Kravax's order, Earth was no longer facing one weapon. It was facing a storm, Captain. Stanton stood again on the Behemoth's bridge, now fully repaired. Fleet of human warships forming behind her. She looked at the star map, dozens of red lights growing closer. This is it, she said. They're done testing. Her second-in-command stepped up beside her, and what do we do? She gave a hard smile. We show them what happens when humanity is cornered. The stars no longer felt distant. All across known space, ships moved. Into formation. Fleets that had never worked together before now stood side by side. They came from the shadows of lost worlds and the ruins of ancient stations. Their banners were old. Their weapons were mixed. They had one thing in common. They followed humanity into battle above Earth. The sky was filled with steel. The ASV Behemoth led the charge, its hull rebuilt, reinforced, marked with battle scars that now told a story. The day humanity faced fear and didn't run. Captain Rhea Stanton stood on the main deck of the Behemoth, hands behind her. Back, her eyes fixed on the expanding starfield. Oh, Meg's voice echoed across the ship. Final coordinates locked. Karnak staging point ahead. Estimated enemy strength. Overwhelming. Stanton gave a faint smile. Good. Let's surprise them. Council's orders had been clear. Humanity would no longer wait to be attacked. They would no longer send messages. Now they would answer terror with fire. The first strike was aimed at a system called Threxel 4, a key refueling hub for Karnak. Sleeper fleets, hidden behind ion storms and guarded by 3 Fortress-class dreadnoughts. It was never touched by enemy hands until now. The human-led fleet exited subspace with zero warning. Behemoth launched a signal flare. Not a message of peace, but a declaration of war. From behind it came the new allies' Zorathi gunships, Rovery-cloaked bombers, and war-torn Ellerin cruisers with scavenged cannons. Together, they opened fire. The stars lit up the Karnak defenders. Didn't retreat. They roared back with everything they had: plasma bursts, kinetic slugs, and boarding pods. But for every shot they fired, the new alliance answered with two more. The Behemoth led the way, its railgun charging with a low thunder. The target, the Karnak dreadnought Tazalakar, known for wiping out 3 colonies in one campaign. The railgun fired. One shot, one hole punched through the heart of the dreadnought. The ship cracked open like an egg. The Galaxy watched every hidden camera, every pirate drone, every sensor array picked up the battle. Broadcasts flooded the void. A voice from a Zorathi ship cried, "We rise." Another from an Ellerin captain, "For our dead." And from Earthside, "For Prosper, for the Behemoth, for humanity." In the middle of chaos, Stanton received a private Karnak transmission. A face appeared, twisted, reptilian, cold. It was Warlord Kravox. His voice was deep and venomous. "You were warned." Stanton answered calmly, "So were you." Kravox sneered, "You cannot win. You do not understand what's coming." "I don't need to understand," she said. "I just need to stop it." She ended the transmission. Back at the command deck, Omega spoke again. "Enemy forces breaking formation. One ship attempting retreat." "Track it," Stanton said. "What?" "Let them run, but not far. I want them to carry a message home." The battle lasted 3 hours. By the end, the Threxel system burned. The Karnak lost 2 dreadnoughts, 5 carriers, and over 30 attack ships. The Allied fleet lost many too brave crews who had fought alongside humans. But they had done the impossible. They had pushed the Karnak back. As the smoke cleared, the Behemoth remained still in space, its hull scorched but floating proud. "Oh," Imga's voice was quiet. Transmission from rebel channels. Over 37 colonies requesting alliance. Another voice chimed in, one of the alien captains. "They used to fear the Karnak. Now, they fear you." Captain Stanton stood in silence for a long time. Then she turned to her crew. "This was just the beginning," she said. "We've broken their silence. We've shattered their fear. But war is not won in a day." She looked out into the stars. "It's won when every species, every planet, and every child can sleep without looking to the sky in fear. And we're not done." The screen zoomed out. Dozens of enemy systems still glowed red, but Earth's color now pulsed through them, too bold, rising, stoppable. A voice whispered through the Alliance fleet. The Karnak ruled the stars with fear, but then humanity fired first. And the Galaxy would never be the same again.